Hello and welcome back to the Vintage Unicorn Beauty, Makeup, and etc. Today I am definitely delving more into the etc. I put a little poll out and I was kind of planning on toying with this idea anyway of doing Storytime Saturdays. I would like to everyone to keep in mind I am not a storyteller, but I definitely have a few reasons why I want to do this. With that being said, I did not script this. I literally came down here and was like, I'm gonna do this. So my channel is still very small, but I am noticing its growth. I am also noticing particularly that a lot of people say things which are, it's like so incredibly endearing and heartwarming that they hope to be where I am or something like that. And with that growth comes something that I need to put out there. And whether this turns into a recurring theme and I start talking about all the shenanigans that ensued because of some of the crazy stuff I've done is yet to be determined. But at this time, I feel that if you're going to watch me, you have a right to know who I am, or rather who I was, because I can positively say that everything that I am going to talk about in this video is something that was in the past and that I have taken active steps to make sure it doesn't happen again. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy, and I am going to try and get through this very, very, with as much composure as I can. I don't want this to be depressing, but I also don't want to make light of it because this is very serious. So this is Vintage Unicorns, How Not to Rob a Bank. Why would I name my story time How Not to Rob a Bank? Because you are looking at in front of you on video a bank robber. And I don't say that with pride. I am not a gangster. I am none of that. I'm no Patty Hearst. Basically what it was is the mayhem that ensues from addiction. When I was 17, I started using heroin. And I started using heroin with a boy who I was completely, I was consumed with this passion for him. I was certain I was in love with him. And 2 years later, he passed away. He overdosed. And the way I found out about that was I was working as a caregiver at the time, I was working as a caregiver at the time. I was 19 when he died. And, I was working graveyard shift. So what does a junkie need first thing in the morning? Her dope. So I call the dude and they show up and they said, "Hey, do you know Jake?" And I said, "Yeah, that's my boyfriend." "Oh, no, he overdosed." So they had this, it was, the paisas, the Mexicans are the ones who drove. That's the only ones who I would buy from because of the quality and just the convenience. I always used to joke that it was like a 7 to 7 convenience store. They opened at 7 in the morning, they closed at 7 at night. And that's what I wanted my life to be. So please don't take any offense to me saying things like that. So they had this guy who I kind of knew. I got to know him a little better after this, and he came out and he said, "No, he overdosed. We just heard from, I guess, one of the previous people they had just sold to. This is first thing in the morning." And I'm thinking, well, okay, he has had a lot of close calls. I have personally driven him to the hospital because he OD'd in a parking lot in Albuquerque. So, I tore ass with him up to Caseman. Anyway, so I call and I found out, no, this wasn't just another OD. This was an OD. The actual definition of an overdose. He died. And literally the next day, I would say, my habit skyrocketed from maybe $40 a day to $300 a day. And when it comes to what I did, the ways and means to get more, there was no limit to the extent of my depravity. And, I can look back at it now and accept a lot of what I've done. I can even laugh about some of it. My hustle was, well, I had several hustles. I was never a shoplifter or anything like that. But, once you've sold everything in your house that has value, especially as a woman, you realize you have one thing left to sell. That's what I did. And I'm not proud to say that. That's probably the most shameful part of this story. So yeah, that's what I did. And I also hurt my parents very badly. So my parents had cut me off. This is when I was 22. At this point, I had started kind of doubling up with drugs, and I'd been utilizing cocaine as well with it. And it was getting, it was ridiculous. It was out of hand. I didn't even realize how horrible I was. If I can find the picture, I will insert it right here. And that's me. I know I have the picture. I am going to insert it right here. That's me, my FBI mugshot. So I decided I didn't want to basically hook anymore. So I literally decided overnight that I was gonna rob a bank. I was living with a friend of mine who I'd known since middle school, and I posed the idea to him prior, like a couple weeks before that, and he said no, he didn't want anything to do with it. He was very smart, and he got the hell out. He had already left. So here I am, 22 years old, and I actually started writing this to put it in a book because it was just like, it seemed like such a profound experience. But now in my position as someone who works with you know, or who interacts closely with people who have substance abuse disorders, I understand there is no length that we will not go to. So it was the Wells Fargo that was by my apartment. And I remember the concrete being so cold. And I walked to the bank. I had this, like, you know, overnight just developed this stupid plan. So I'm walking and I'm wearing these burnt out Chuck Taylors and this big pink University of New Mexico hoodie that I had probably been wearing for 2 days before that and definitely was wearing days after, and I'll tell you why later. So I'm walking, and the whole time I'm rehearsing what I'm gonna say in my head. Backtrack to what I did that morning right before I left. It was about 8:30 when I finally left the house, maybe 9. It was shortly after they opened, and I had taken a can of spray tan, a computer motherboard, all kinds of random stuff, copper wire, and basically wrapped it together with masking tape and taped a cell phone to it, this whole thing, and it looked pretty realistic. But I put it in this purse that I had just gotten from Target. I don't even remember how I got it from Target. Like, it was one of the last things I was able to buy, that wasn't drugs. And so I'm walking the cobblestone, like this, I don't know how to explain the profound nature of the sidewalk in my mind, because that's what I was looking at while I was rehearsing what I was going to say. I walk into the Wells Fargo, and right as I reach for the door, I cover my hand with my sweater because I'm like, fingerprints, because I've been watching SVU my entire fucking life, right? Anyway, so I walk in, I waited in line, and this is the really disgusting part, is I'm standing there in line and there's this guy looking at me, and the whole time in my mind, the rhetoric is, oh, this pervert just wants to, you know, he's just looking at me. I realized later, you know, through, you know, the program and, you know, owning my shit, that he was looking at me like, what is this junkie girl doing in here? Because I don't think I had bathed, and this is something that I think a lot of addicts don't like to talk about, but I will say it, I hadn't bathed for days. At that point, I was so stuck, I did not want to do anything except for sit there and get high. That's another reason that I hide my hands and my arms when I'm on camera, because even now, 5-6 years later, you can definitely tell that. Anyway, so I'm waiting in line, and I'm thinking this guy's looking at me, he's probably like, ugh. And I go up to the register, I was thinking, I want that one, you know, whatever teller. And I stuttered some words out along the lines of, they're outside, or something crazy like that. And, you know, asked for like $40,000. And I don't know what happened. There was this like spark in me, like, get the fuck out. Get out now, Emma, get out. And right as I like hesitated, I think the lady saw that, and she pushed a button under the thing, and I saw her do that. I had already made the decision to freaking leave, because I was like, what the hell am I doing? So I hear the sirens because there's a police station right around the corner, and I'd lived in Albuquerque for like 19 years at that point. I moved from South Africa to Albuquerque and lived there until 3 days after the bank robbery, so I knew my way around. Wearing my Chuck Taylors, hauled ass past a McDonald's, around a corner, and all I remember is that I had dropped this lighter. I had a Playboy lighter, and I was like, they're gonna identify me. So I heard the cops, I saw the helicopter circling, and I ran into this residential neighborhood and hid behind this dumpster. And like, I completely remember I had these sunglasses that I had used as Sharpie, like one of those metallic Sharpies to color in, and I don't know why. Like, just that kind of thing is the thing that stands out, the profound nature that I had these sunglasses and I was chipping away at the Sharpie stuff that I had drawn. So while I'm doing that, I'm circling, you know, the dumpster, watching the helicopter, and they never came for me. A cop car even drove right by where I was. So I don't know how long I waited. It could have been minutes, it could have been hours, but I took off the UNM hoodie and I walked home. And that was it. Like, I really didn't think I had done anything. I just didn't comprehend it. The night before everything kind of fell to shit, well, things had already fallen to shit. But the night before everything actually hit the ground, I remember this horrible moment. I was just walking around kind of that area because I had no idea that anyone would be looking for me. Sorry. And at that time there was a bakery and it had like a gravel courtyard. Remember, this is in December, so it was pretty cold. And I was sitting on the concrete of this outside little picnic yard. I was actually smoking a cigarette, and this guy is looking at me in the car, and I'm like, oh great. You know, the same kind of twisted thinking. And he calls me over and he hands me $40 and says, Merry Christmas. Because I think I was crying, or I was looking rough, as you have seen in the picture. So I was looking pretty damn rough. And I had my phone. It was just a little bit before 7. I called, I asked dude if he could sell me 2 and front me 2. And that was the last, you know, I went home. I remember I spoke to some guy who was like hanging outside the Target right there. I don't remember why or what we said, but like, you know, there was like I was thinking, you know, am I gonna go hang out with these people, whatever, but I just left. And I walked back home, and I woke up that morning, and I didn't know what time it was. I didn't know what anything was at this point. I didn't know up from down at this point. And this is 3 days post bank robbery, so this is, or is it 2? I robbed the bank on December 7th, and this was the morning of December 9th. I did not get any money, if I didn't specify that. But I sure as shit lied about it when I got to prison and jail and everything. So I go out in the morning just to kind of get my bearings on what time it is. I had used the last little bit, and I basically wanted to go reefer hunting in the rocks, you know, to find a cigarette. And this cop car drives by in my apartment complex, and I just smile and wave, whatever, you know. There were always cops driving by, and I didn't think I had anything to hide. I don't know why it hadn't penetrated my thick fucking skull, but I am so grateful that it didn't, because at that point, I mean, this is a blur. There was like the bomb squad, and I got arrested, and I remember it was my first time in the back of a cop car, because I have never been arrested since then or prior or whatever. That was my one single criminal offense. So they handcuff me, and they go to like gently set me in the back seat, and I just fall in the back seat. I didn't know back seats of cop cars were plastic. Boom. So I start talking with the officers, and they're like, well, someone matching your description tried to rob a bank, blah, blah, blah. I think I tried to deny it for like all of 3 minutes before I said, yes, it was me. And I was mostly worried about my cats at that point, because they were going through my apartment, and I said, hey, my cats. And that's when I started to tell the truth, because the officer basically, he was giving me information and I was giving him information. I was concerned about my cats, and I also really wanted a cigarette, and I had this concept that in jail they give you methadone. I didn't know about kicking in jail. I didn't know what jail was. I didn't know the difference between a federal offense and a state offense. I seriously didn't. So, you know, I'm 22 years old, no experience in the world whatsoever. The most gangster thing I've probably ever done up to this point is some other stupid thing for a hustle, you know, so I don't really know shit about shit. So they take me to the FBI center, not the federal courthouse, but the FBI center. And this FBI agent, who actually ended up really supporting me, coming to my to my hearings and stuff and really supporting me. He interviewed me. He's the one who took that picture of me. And I told him, look, I will tell you anything. I used to joke about this. I told them I would say anything for a Marlboro Black and a for a Marlboro Black and some methadone. Now, they gave me a native ultralight and a Kit Kit. So I used to say I sold my soul cheap. But I didn't really. I saved my soul. I told them everything. I said, yes, it was me. They took me to the jail. And then everything just compounded. Now, through the time that I was sentenced to 24 months. I did just over 2 years, almost 3, 13 months in county jail, and then I was transported to a facility, to an actual FCI federal prison in California. And I got out, and I just did not want that life anymore. When I say that I started landscaping in prison and then I continued landscaping on the outs, I seriously did. Living in a halfway house, riding my bike, anything I could do. I just wanted life again. And I'm gonna tie this in, like right here in front of me, I have this, the spellbinding makeup book. Even when I was an addict, I had this love for makeup, and I had quite a nice collection. And of course it was lost, like it was gone. But that's why I hold such a love and a passion for this kind of stuff, because I remember the first time I put on like my kind of makeup after getting arrested. It was in 2014, early 2015. I was in California at Above It All, and which is a treatment center, because I was getting additional treatment to make sure that this wouldn't happen again. So I remember this girl gave me a Mac quad, the kind that opens up 2 times, and I had a bunch of like browns in it, and I was so happy to have that. And from there I slowly started to build my makeup collection again. But aside from makeup, I've been able to restore my life, restore my family. I speak to my mother every day. I have a relationship with my family. I have a relationship with myself. I may have some self-image issues and, have some issues with eating and all that kind of stuff, but the bottom line is, if I had not robbed that bank, if I had not, or attempted to, and if I had not gone to jail, I would be dead, without a doubt. There is not a doubt in my mind. I am, 5 years clean now, looking back at that. And the last words that I said to the friend who was living with me prior to him leaving, he said, "Let's just get clean." And I said, "I'd rather die." And I remember thinking distinctly that the 3 outcomes of robbing a bank were getting the money and getting high, getting shot by the cops and dying, or going to jail. And I considered all of them an upward departure from where I was. So I guess in telling this story, it was neither positive nor negative. It was what it was. I'm not going to interpret what I did. Obviously what I did was not right. What I did was I violated the law. I traumatized people. I did a horrible thing. I mean, bank robbery's pretty high up there. But what I can say is, I do have a very strong concept of spirituality in my life. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that had I not done that, I wouldn't be here with a YouTube channel talking to you guys, playing with makeup, playing with fake hair, have a wonderful, loving husband who supports me and cares for me, have a career, a college degree, all of these things that I have acquired since getting clean. So this is my final statement to you guys in light of this story time, that if any of you guys are struggling in any way with addiction issues, self-image issues, anything, because it's all one and the same, please comment down below and let's get a dialogue going. Let's discuss this, because I feel that among women, among men, among anybody, we have more commonalities than we have differences. And I think that if we find those commonalities, we can be the greatest resource to one another that we can find. You can read all the self-help books in the world, but the bottom line is, speaking to one person is where your solution will lie. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this Saturday, Storytime Saturday, and I hope that I can maybe continue the series, and that the next one is, I don't know, a little bit more cheery. I definitely have some funny experiences that happened. It definitely wasn't the best part of my life. I still have a lot of, I'm still kind of sad. It does affect me when I think about it, but the lingering sense of this overwhelming feeling of gratitude that I was able to be pulled out of that life before what happened to Jake and so many other friends I had happened to me. Right after I got arrested, that boy who was living with me, who left right before it happened, his sister, who was the most beautiful girl I had ever seen in my life. She had like these beautiful cat eyes without any makeup, big blue eyes. She was gorgeous, dark hair. She was just absolutely beautiful. She passed away. And so many others have too. And I know that they've been speaking a lot in, the political arenas about the opiate epidemic and all that. And I understand. I mean, if we look at, some of the most talented minds throughout history, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, Jim Morrison, Brian Jones, all of these people who are also on the 27 Club, by the way, Bradley Noel from Sublime, all died because of this. And I hope that in doing this, I have not only brought awareness to the horrible epidemic, not only of heroin addiction, opiate addiction, but substance abuse in general. There are only there's no positive outcome. Jails, institutions, and death, oh shit. No, really, that's really all it will get you, is a ticket to the grave. So I just want to end this on a positive note. I love you guys so much. I really wanted to be fully transparent with this and let you guys know the actual truth and be the one to say it without alluding to it every now and then in videos. Actually put it all out there for everyone to see. Let me know if you like this format, and also let me know whatever thoughts you have below. I am not expecting zero criticism for this because I did a bad thing, but I also want to invite that and invite that dialogue for people to discuss issues such as substance abuse, because there's such an absence, I think, to accept it. There's a lingering absentia for people to come forward and say, yes, I have a problem. Outside of AA and NA and Celebrate Recovery, how do you tell a friend or a stranger that you're struggling with alcoholism, with substance abuse, with anything like that? So please, in the comment section down below, just let's get a discussion going. Let's bring this to light, and also let me know if you would like to hear more of my crazy, a little lighter prison and jail stories, like my big prison fight, because you know I'm such a little badass over here. I got a boom boom boom. Also, Joe Guerrero of After Prison Show, this goes out to you, because this bitch over here has lived it, and that is not at all like a glorification. I'm just saying you can never tell when you look at someone, because for those of you who have seen me without my makeup on, I don't look like I could bust a grape, but I still can. So thank you guys so much. Please remember to subscribe. The Jeffree Star giveaway is going strong, and I cannot wait to give it to one of you guys gift the gift of makeup from the Doctor of Gorgeous Jeffree Star upon one of my lovely subscribers. Also follow me on Instagram down below, and I will see you next time. Mwah.